use explicit violence in your writings?
It's what I do, is one answer. I write horror fiction. There is a kind of curiosity that we have as human beings about our life processes. One of our last life processes is death. It's a legitimate subject for curiosity. We shouldn't be ashamed that the macabre or the morbid exercises some fascination upon us. I tell it like it is. If it's there in my mind's eye, I put it on the page. And that seems to me to be a legitimate way to write.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Written in Red podcast. That is the horror reader and writers podcast. We are back to talk more about writing horror and also to spotlight the horror community. But let us remind you first who we are. My name is Aaron Beauregard. I'm the Splatterpunk Award-nominated horror author of The Slob, Son of the Slob, Scary Bastard, quite a few books. I think I'm up to 11 books now. And we got also Daniel J. Volpe.
Hey everyone, Daniel J. Volpe. I am the author of books of Billy Silver, Awakened in Blood, Talia, and my newest one from D&T Publishing, A Gift of Death.
And Carver Pike.
I'm horror author Carver Pike, author of the Diablo Snuff series, Scalp, Grad Night, and a handful of others.
And Roland Bursey Jr.
Roland Bursey Jr., author of Payback as a Witch, Pre-Thanksgiving Stress Disorder, and Abortion, winner of the 2018? 19 International Book Awards.
I got you, pimp.
Thank you.
Awesome. So yeah, we are the Written in Red podcast, and this week we got a great topic and a good spotlight. But just to give you, before we get into the author spotlight, to give you an idea, this episode is called Don't Judge a Horror Book by Its Cover. And if you notice, don't is crossed out, because as horror fans, we love the macabre and we love what that shit looks like. And I personally think the cover has a lot to do with purchasing habits. You're not going to tell me that if there ain't shit on a cover and somebody looks at it, that they're going to be more apt to buy it than if there was something that is cool and represents the story and represents you. So we're going to get talking about that. But as always, we like to begin the show with an author spotlight. This is a great spotlight that Roland Bursey suggested. And in honor of the upcoming Splatterpunk Awards, it couldn't be more fitting. Roland, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right, join in, please, but I just want to recognize or mention Wrath James White. I mean, who doesn't know the legendary Wrath White? This is his book, His Pain, which is about a boy who actually is, he lives in perpetual pain. Everything, like his breath, everything that he touches, everything that touches him, it hurts him, like beyond belief. And a yogi comes in and helps him to deal with that. But in doing so, it changes him. And now he wants to share what he experienced all his life with everybody else. And you can only imagine what ensues. But Wrath, I can't tell you how many books I've read of his. Population Zero, The Book of 1,000 Sins. Jesus, there's so many of them. Hero, which is another amazing book, and I have never been disappointed in one of his books. So, one of my favorite authors, and probably one of the authors who actually got me into the extreme horror or genre. And so I just had to mention Wrath in this because he's amazing.
Yeah, and Roland, he actually, didn't you say you got a pretty cool story about him putting you on a panel once, kind of out of nowhere, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to meet him in person, right?
Yeah, he's huge. The man is like a monster, but a big old teddy bear. So I went to the Killer Con probably like 2 years ago, and I'm just I went by myself, didn't know anybody. It was the first con I ever went to. And I'm sitting in the audience, and after one of the panels is over, Wrath comes up to me, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're next." And I was like, "You're on the next panel." And I was like, what do you mean I'm on the next panel? Freaking out. I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, I signed you up. You're going to be on the next panel." I can't even do this show without giggling and my heart beating 1,000 miles an hour. So I'm sitting on panel with, oh shoot, I can't remember her name. She's amazing. I'll remember later. But my heart is beating out of my chest. But you know what? It turned out to be the most amazing experience. Like my first time at a con, I had just released my first book, the Unbortion, and Rat just wanted to help me to get out there and get in front of everybody. And I had a great experience. It was so much fun.
That's really cool, man.
That's awesome.
That's an awesome story. He sounds like a great guy just to do that for you. I've heard plenty of interviews. He's been on Brian Keene when Brian Keene had the horror show. He just seems like a fucking awesome guy. I've only read a few of his things, a couple of his novellas and stuff, but his writing is, top tier, definitely graphic in every sense of the word. And for you to have that personal experience to him is just fucking really cool.
Yeah,
I reached out to him kind of when I first started getting into extreme horror. I didn't know, I've said this before, I didn't know extreme horror was a thing. I started out calling my stuff erotic horror and stuff because of the graphic sex and the gore and violence and all that in it. And I actually reached out to him because I had just read the beginning of the Resurrectionist, which I have here. Just the first chapter of the Resurrectionist, and I was like, holy shit. So that was my first kind of foray into, I guess, what would be extreme horror. And so I reached out to him, was just like, man, I just read the beginning of this book, and it kind of made me feel a little bit better about the stuff that I'm writing and stuff, because I see it's a thing. I'm not just like, somebody writing horror that's throwing graphic sex in there and stuff like that. Like, it actually does fit with the story and everything. And like, it's kind of inspirational when you find somebody else that you're like, man, he's doing it. And like, he's so well known, Yeah. And he was so cool. Like, he wrote me back and was nice about it and everything. It was just a really cool guy. And I was going to say, I listened to one, he was recently on, I think it was the This Is Horror podcast, and just listening to his story about growing up and being bullied and stuff like that. And even though he's such a big dude, people would jump him and shit because they thought, because he's so big, it was fair, to fight him 6-1 and shit like that. I mean, just
he was
this story is really cool. And what were we saying?
He was like a professional kickboxer or MMA fighter. Like he'll kick the ass out of you. And he's a big fucking dude.
He said that's how he kind of got started with martial arts and stuff, is that he was getting picked on because he was so big. So, and even a big guy has a hard time fighting 6 people. So,
yeah.
But
that has actually been made into a movie, the Resurrectionist.
Yeah, it says down here at the bottom. I guess the movie is called Come Back to Me. I haven't seen the movie itself. I watched the trailer to it. I don't even know, like, I'd have to look up where to find that movie.
I saw it a while back, and it was actually, they did a good job. I mean, if I remember correctly, they stayed true to the book as much as they could. So it was a good movie as well. So, Rat also just released his new book. What is it? Hardcore Kelly. I purchased it, but I have not read it yet. But I, just like the rest of his stuff, I know I'm not going to be disappointed.
Yeah, I've read a bunch of his short stories, and I'm a big fan of like real gritty, grimy street horror, and I just think that he has a way with words and that sort of like almost, it's great because it's like an infusion of crime in some respects, and then obviously the hardcore horror. And I don't know, I haven't had a chance. I've always looked at his pain, and that's one that I kind of always had my eye on. I'm glad that you showed that. I really do want to read that one. And what was the other one you said, Roland? Was it Hero, right? That he co-wrote that, right? And I remember reading the synopsis.
Yeah, he co-wrote that with Dre Gonzalez.
Yes.
J.F. Gonzalez.
I believe he co-wrote it with J.F. Gonzalez.
And the synopsis was just so awesome for that. And it's like, it's always been on my list. I suck at, I don't read enough, honestly, but just the concept was like, oh, you know, that person being tortured by the evil nurse and shit. And it just so helpless, you know, when you're in the hospital and stuff and you're at the will of the people that are supposed to be taking care of you. Yeah. It's just a great setup for horror. So
I read one of his collection. It's not really I guess it is a small collection called Something Terrible that he did with his son, and it's let me see how many it is. 1, 2, 3, 4 novellas in this short collection that he did with his son, and they are fucking brutal. And it starts off with the first one, Something Terrible, and you kind of see the hook from, I'm not going to say the beginning, but you kind of know what the hook is. But the way he disguises it and the way he moves through with it, holy shit. And that's from Bloodbound Books, which everybody kind of knows the guys from Bloodbound. You have Mark, I think it's Chicharron, and Joe. I cannot think of his last name for the second right now. But Bloodbound is an awesome publisher, and that book, Something Terrible, definitely check that collection out. Definitely a good.
Oh, and the one I would recommend to guys is the one that I have on Kindle. I have Cupid in Bondage on paperback, but I haven't read it yet. But like Porno for Psychos, that was I read that one, and that was just fucking dope, dude. So I think we've all kind of read a little bit of his stuff, and it's like there's no complaints. You know, it's good. There's a reason why, you know, he's such a prominent figure in the horror community, and like, what better person to recognize, right, with the approaching Splatterpunk Awards coming up. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron.
You are nominated for it. Am I correct, Aaron?
Yes, with Carver too.
Oh, and Carver. I'm so sorry, Carver. Forgive me.
It's all right. You know.
I'm sorry.
Shit on Carver again.
No, yeah. I thought that was every day. Actually, Aaron and Roland, I was going to ask you guys, are you guys in any upcoming books with Wrath by any chance?
Oh, now that you mention it.
Is there anything you'd like to share with the crowd?
Matt Shaw has a collection coming out. What is it called? Broken and Battered Bodies?
Yeah, I think you got it. Yeah.
Mistaken. And I am part of that collection. I believe Aaron is part of it. And
we're very fortunate, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. Wrath is also going to be in that collection, which I think is going to be released early next year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, and a lot of other great names in that one too. I think Christopher Triana, Christine Morgan, Jonathan Butcher just got added. Shout out to him. I actually plan on talking about his new release in a few months from now. So,
nice.
But yeah, tons of people. It's going to be really cool. What about you, Daniel? Are you in any kind of books?
Oh, me? Yeah, it's actually surprising you should mention that. I am actually in the Gorefest anthology released by Evil Cookie Publishing, which I think the pre-order just went up for October 1st. And yes, my story, Cut Around the Ass, will be in that, along with Wrath James White's story.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm really excited. Again, that's got some big names in there. You got Armand Rosamilia, Wes Southard's in there, Lucas Milliron's in there. So I think Brian and Essig's in there. Jack Bantry and him, I think, did a co-story together. So it's got a serious table of contents. So so from there, where should we go to next? I mean, I don't know.
No, fuck all y'all. Not any books with Wrath James White. Thank you very much.
But watch, he'll have
his own thing coming out pretty soon.
I can feel the fucking tears coming down my eyes as you guys are talking about it.
But watch, he's gonna walk away with the Splatterpunk Award.
We were talking about this prior to the show starting. That's why I was laughing through the entire thing, because I knew we were gonna come back around to me, and then I'm not in the fucking question.
Maybe it's because you haven't released a book since 1976.
Maybe it's because I don't buy any fucking swag.
Buy your fucking swag. Love your fucking readers, Carver.
No, but in all seriousness, though, it's an honor to be considered in these books, and then also, Carver, you're in the Splatterpunk Awards. Wrath, you're obviously connected in that way. You could walk away with an award. I hope you do. And yeah, it's just a perfect time to spotlight him with those awards looming. I think by the time this comes out, it's probably only going to be a couple of weeks away or a week away or something.
It's in August, right?
Yeah. Oh shit! I mean, it might have even fucking gone down. No, probably not. It'd be very, very close though.
Yeah.
But yeah, what an honor and what a great author. And we just want to say I want to say thank you. I'm sure you guys do too. Yeah. To Wrath and to Brian Keene for creating that platform and giving us the rub, so to speak, because when you get that award nomination or you get in that community, it definitely gets more eyes on your books, dude. So I don't fucking take it for granted one bit. I'll always be indebted to them and to the community in one way or another.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Man.
All right, so check him out, right? He's everywhere, right? And one more time, it's Hardcore Kelly, right? His new one?
Yeah, Hardcore Kelly. I think it was just released about a week ago.
Cool. All right, guys, so that's the author spotlight of the week. Wrath James White.
Yes.
Completely fitting spotlight. And now we're going to get into talking about some horror covers. So, don't judge a horror book by its cover. I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But we're at the point in our process, right, of self-publishing where we've finished our story, right? Our editing's complete. And, you like it enough to publish it, then it's time to start thinking about covers and whatnot. And also interior illustrations, too, if you do decide to go that route, because that is an option. However, that is going to add a lot onto your cost. I can tell you from experience. I pay a lot extra and invest in interior illustrations, but it's pretty awesome if you want to do it. Now, let's talk about why a cover is important first. Why do you think a cover is important, Roland? Let's start with you.
I mean, that's the first thing that draws me to a book. So if it catches my eye, I'm definitely going to go and look and read the synopsis, and then hopefully from there purchase the book. So especially in the extreme horror or horror genre, I think it's important. It's one of the main things. Your readers, they're going through Amazon, going through Facebook, they run across your cover. First thing that makes them want to check out your stuff. So investing some time and money into your covers, or just picking the right cover for your book that is appropriate for the story is very important.
I like how you gave it from the perspective of the consumer, right? You said, when I go and I look at a book, I look at the cover. From there, I turn it around and look at the blurb. So, that's part of the cover too, right? The back part. Yeah. So, it just shows you how important that is, right? Because you get that visual, and I'm the same way. I look at art, and I don't like that art. I don't fuck with it, dude. I'm just like, I just can't fuck with that. That's just not my shit. What about you, Carver? How do you feel?
Yeah, I would kind of go the same path that you're saying. I mean, when you walk into a Books A Million or Barnes & Noble, a physical store, or even when you're looking at Amazon or any of the other ebook stores, I mean, you're competing against, we like to say we're not in competition, us authors and stuff, we help each other out and stuff. But in that aspect, you are in competition, because when somebody opens up Amazon or they walk into the store, it's you, and then there's the other millions of books, that they're faced with. So, and I know we say we don't like to judge books by covers, but come on, we absolutely do. I mean, I do. When I'm in Books A Million and stuff like that, and I'm actually looking at the books, well, sometimes I judge it by price.
What about you, Daniel?
I can definitely attest to this, because I made the rookie mistake when I published Billy Silver. And I took off just 2 seconds ago to grab couple copies just to give everybody an example.
Yeah.
I put that book out, and I didn't spring for a cover artist. I found a cool image I liked. I played with it a little bit, and we ended up with the original OG cover, which is actually a piece of rust that I ended up finding online, and I kind of tweaked the coloration of it. So I had a couple people tell me, honestly and politely, they're like, that cover doesn't do anything for them. It doesn't draw them in. It doesn't give them anything as to what the story is about. Yeah. The title is, vague. It's a name. So I decided that I was going to release it. I was going to re-release it, and I had a new cover done. And I was graciously afforded a blurb by fucking man himself, Edward Lee.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I went through this. I hired a professional cover artist. We came up with some ideas for what we were going to do. This image kind of fits the story a little bit better. Yeah. And, of course, I had a beautiful blurb from Edward Lee that I had to include on the cover. So anybody listening to this who is an aspiring indie author or self-published author, learn from our mistakes. And I'm sure Aaron's going to give you some examples as well. Learn from our mistakes. Spend the money on a cover. Not only spend the money on a cover, but be fucking adamant about what you want. If you get something from the cover artist and you do not like it, tell them you do not like it. Yeah. And usually they will be okay with that and work with you. But do not settle on something like I did. I just kind of picked the cover and threw it out there. And if I had this cover initially with the beautiful, the shattered mirror and the face and the needles and the blurb, I may have been able to sell some more copies and get it out to more people. But because I went with something that was subpar to begin with, my recognition suffered a little bit. So anybody listening, learn from my mistakes. Hire a reputable author. Go ahead, Aaron.
And I'll give you another... Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Roland.
What made you go with the initial red cover? Like, is it you thought it was appropriate for the book, or what was the reasoning?
Impatience. So pretty much, I wrote Billy Silver in March of 2020. I had it done by then, probably within a couple weeks because it's short. I had it edited probably by, we'll say, June, and by then I was seeking publication traditionally. I wasn't getting it. I was getting rejections, or I was getting nothing back. And by November-ish, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to put it out myself. I really didn't know where to go for cover art. And I just I suck with Photoshop, as you can see. And I kind of just played around with some things. I'm like, I'm just going to pick a cool image, and I'm going to throw it out there. So it was my impatience that rushed it along to get a subpar cover. And then after a while, and some, prodding from some other people, I decided to go another route. And I paid for it, but it was well worth it. And now, like I said, I have a professionally done cover that has a nice blurb on the back. Everything looks good. Everything is, formatted nicely inside, and it definitely turned out well.
So, I'm going to contradict you. I actually saw the red cover, the Billy Silver. I told you this before on Amazon. And it did draw me in. I don't know why or what, but something about that red. And to me, it kind of looked almost like a machete or something, that piece of the one piece that you have there, the rust, the darker part.
Yeah.
I wasn't shopping that day. I was like putting books on, like a wish list type of thing or something. And I remember I added it. I didn't buy it at that moment, but I was interested. I don't know. It drew me in for some reason. And I,
Which actually goes to show that it's all subjective. I mean,
really,
it's just based on that person. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And I've had people tell me like, "Oh, I wish you didn't change it. I really liked the red cover, and it was good, and I enjoyed it, and I liked the cover art and everything like that." And I'm like, this will forever be my baby. This is the last copy I have, but it's it doesn't tell anything about the story. The title doesn't tell anything about the story.
That's true. So
the cover doesn't show anything. Yeah. If maybe I had a different title, I could have gotten away with this cover. But in order to convey something of what the story is, I had to go with another piece of cover art. And I think that what the artist came up with, really showed what that story was actually about.
No, that makes sense. I see what you're saying.
Let me show another example of evolution, right? So it's good that we have these books on hand because I feel like the visual helps. But so this is the original cover of Try the New Candy. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. You'll
Is that
put up
better?
Yeah.
So it's the woman in the vending machine, and you can see like the side font is just done through Amazon Cover Creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the back font is also done through Amazon Cover Creator.
Yeah.
And this is not a bad illustration. The illustration's pretty cool still. It's different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be even more detailed and, you know, just more fucking visceral and like, so this is the updated Try the New Candy, and you can see
Yeah.
and you can see the great detail, and I added the
Yeah.
chainsaw at the bottom too, which is nice. And then of course the side wrap is way better. You got the woman's fucked up face, the better font here. It all just wraps together very nicely, you know, in different fonts on the back. So you can see, you take a look at this, has some cool aspects to it, right? But what's more professional? It's night and day. And and the thing is, so you can pay like I did for art, for cover art, right? And then make the spine and the back yourself. Or, you know, you can get with someone, like I use Don Noble for my cover wraps. So I use a specific artist, have him do the artwork, and then I have Don manipulate it and make a clean wrap design. So I think it's worth investing that extra, because this full wrap really makes your shit look like way more fucking professional, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
You could do the easy way, but people are going to look at it a little differently, I think. Ultimately, it shouldn't matter if the fucking, you know, if the content's good, but how they how they going to get to that content if we don't attract them and draw them in and bait them somehow, right?
And that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're consumers as well. So like Roland brought up, like when I'm shopping for a book, because I read a lot, and when I'm shopping for something, obviously I go off of peer recommendations, people that I trust and I respect, and say, hey, this is good. I think you'll like this. But like the other day, I went to a local used bookstore, and I was just kind of looking around, and I saw, in the book I ended up buying, I saw a book I had no idea who was the author, and I'm like, you know what? The spine, like Aaron said, the spine looked cool, the title was cool, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to pick it up. So that was step one. I picked it up, and that's where, you know, as aspiring authors, that should be your first goal, is to get them to fucking grab that book and to read the back of it. And if it's on Amazon, same thing. Get them to click on it to read the blurb.
Yeah.
And then we go into the blurb stuff, which obviously is later on. Well, obviously, probably not. Probably later on in the episode. But, you know, getting that initial response from a consumer or a reader is important. Getting them to pick that up. And you start by having a catchy title and a cool cover.
Yeah.
And I think for the cool cover, to me, what's a cool cover is something that's detailed. Not always, okay, it doesn't always have to be detailed, but it has to be different, if not detailed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to be, it can't just be the same old skull and crossbones, or, you know, like, it has to be something new, like not rehashed. Although, what I tried to do with my Scary Bastard cover remake is like do something that felt more retro almost, you know, like an older book that people would pick up in like the 80s. That was sort of my motivation.
Like a zebra.
Yeah.
Like a zebra horror. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, I mean, so the covers are incredibly important. Do you guys have anything to say about why it's important before we kind of move on a little bit?
I don't think we touched on it.
The one thing I will say, especially for self-published authors, is it shows your level of professionalism, because we've all seen those like clip art fucking shitty looking covers where people just grab a random ass image and they just look bad, and we've seen them a lot, and I'm sure we've breezed through them, especially in a heyday when Kindle was first starting and everybody was self-publishing everything. You'd get some of the worst covers out there, and maybe the content was great, but they obviously didn't spend the time or money to invest in a quality cover. So I think it really shows your level of professionalism if you have a good cover.
And for me, with the cover, I'm sorry, who did I interrupt? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's fun. I love it. I think thinking of the idea and trying to find somebody to get the cover art or draw the picture and then doing the revisions, I have a blast with it. So it's like one of my favorite parts of the whole process is the cover art.
Oh, I get so stoked. And that's the cool thing. Like, you can, like, okay, the wrap cover design that we're talking about, that's towards the end, because you're going to need to know your page count. You're going to need to know some things.
Yeah.
But hey, what better way to motivate yourself to write that book if you already visualize the cover? You can start working at this earlier if you want. And I've made covers for stuff, like I made the cover for Wedding Day Massacre before it was done. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And like, because I knew exactly what I want. I had this vision for it. You know, the bride and the groom all fucking mutilated and shit, sitting on a bench.
What's funny you say that is because the cover for Talia I had done before I even fucking keyed a single word.
Oh, wow.
I bought the cover, I worked with the cover artist, and I had the outline done, but I was like, this is what I want. And I had that cover completed and purchased before I even put a fucking single keystroke into that book.
It's a great. Did you find it a great motivator, looking at that and being like, man, I can't wait to hold this in my hands?
Absolutely. When I saw that image, I'm like, this is cool. I was like, I couldn't wait to release the cover itself, because I'm like, this is I think that's my favorite cover that I have, and it's very eye-catching. You know, a lot of people have commented and even bought the book based on the cover. So it's just cover's important, and that one was done before, like I said, I even finished the book or even started writing the book.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You'll see it in the reviews too. People would be like, I saw one with Hands of the Heathens, somebody who hadn't read me before, and they were like, yeah, I just bought it because the cover looked cool. You know?
Oh, nice.
And how many times have we done that as consumers, where you're like Carver said, you're going through a bookstore and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck is that? And you take a look at the book and like, man, this will look good on my shelf. And like, I have thousands of books on my bookshelf, and there are some that I bought that are like vintage, or I'm like, this is cool, I want to have this up on my shelf. And it's the same thing for us. And Aaron, even you and I recently, we've been even going as far as selling prints of our covers. Yeah. And that's how much people really enjoy the artwork that we feature, that they're willing to pay just for that picture itself.
Right. It doesn't end there. In our business, we are self-published authors. We are the media machine, right? Like we need to make a living. So if you're paying, and that's another thing, okay? So when you guys are ordering this art, right? We're gonna talk about getting an artist very shortly, but like when you're requesting your art, you want to make sure that you have commercial use covered in that, you know?
Yeah.
So that you can reproduce that, and you can merchandise off that image. You can make t-shirts, you can make bookmarks, you can make keychains, magnets, prints, like Daniel just said. All this stuff, and then you make it more enticing. You say, hey, I have a package of things to offer. Not everybody else takes time to do that kind of shit, so people are like, this is cool, this is different, right?
Yeah.
I do mine a little bit differently, so I feel weird following up after that with all the talk about spending money and stuff on the artwork and stuff, because we've talked before, about it and stuff, and I pretty much just use photos that I use online, and then use filters and fonts and stuff like that and play around with them. And it has, it has hurt me in some ways. Like, for example, this is the cover for Grad Night. I don't know if you guys are able to see it.
Yeah.
It fits the purpose that I needed, because it's about high school kids getting revenge on their teachers at the Grad Night party. What I try to do, and I actually strayed from this not too long ago, and I had a couple readers reach out to me and say they didn't like what I had done when I showed, kind of the pre-cover and what I was thinking of doing with I think it was Faces of Beth that I was working on. They wanted to be able, they were saying how when they look at my books, especially with the author name, you can tell that it's me, like right away as soon as you look at it, because I pretty much do my title, my author name the same way in most of my books, like in Shadow Puppets. At least the author name is pretty consistent. You know what I mean? You can look and see that they're pretty much the same thing. But see, I don't do the full wraps and stuff like you guys do. I just have the black with the font on the back. So
Yeah, but
I'd like to look at the full wrap, and I may go to that at some point.
Yeah.
At this point, I haven't gone that route yet, doing the full wrap. I just keep mine black like that, all of it, other than the front cover. So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going.
I have copies of your books, dude, and they still look good. It's not to say that this is a must. And actually, to your point, there's some really fucking cool public domain images, and I was actually looking at doing like a special edition of All Smiles Until I Return, using this like weird old artwork from like a fucking Catholic book that was just super disturbing, of like the devil hammering this dude with nails. You know, like you can find all this cool shit. So it's not, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? It's not, this isn't the only way, but for me, for what I personally, I do these shits how I like them personally, not so much what I think is going to sell or what I think the readers will like.
When I'm not writing, because a lot of times, you guys know, there's so much shit that goes into this author game, where that's the whole point of the show. We're talking about all of it. And there's times when you just don't feel like writing, but you want to do something else that's in the author world, work on something else that has to do with the business. And a lot of times I'll just start messing around with book covers. I'll start looking through all the photo sites and, picking what I like and messing with the fonts. I'll go buy fonts and stuff like that to use with them. And, I have fun with that kind of stuff. Like, I actually like trying to, figure out. I like to try to find images like that, the cover for Scout. I've shown you guys. We've talked about that before.
Look at my...
Got me.
Because I was going to tell you, you say you use the other, I do it a different way, but it's still so, like, it still caught my eye. Like, immediately when I saw this, I was like, I got to read it. So
that's what I was going to say, is I'm trying to at least find, like, if you go to these stock photo sites and stuff and you type horror, you're going to get a bunch of horror images. But if you, for example, that one was about parasitic head lice, so instead I looked up head lice and I tried to find images that wouldn't necessarily be where other people would look, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'll just sit there, if you go to some of those sites and you just type in something fucking random and you just go down the rabbit hole and keep hitting next and shit and then clicking on a picture that looks kind of like what you're thinking but not quite, and then find similar images, and then you just click next, and you'll find some weird, crazy, wacky shit out there. Like,
nice.
I have a favorites folder with hundreds of photos that I might use at some
Carver,
point.
can you give us some of those sites? Because some of the listeners might want to explore this avenue.
The one that I use is hold on a second. Talk about something else. Give me a second.
For me, I've done I have 4 books out as of now, and 2 of them have, or 3 of them I should say, have full cover wraps. One is Billy Silver, which is professionally done. One is Talia, which was also professionally done, and then A Gift of Death, which was professionally done. But I have Awakened in Blood, which I kind of went the route that Carver did. I did pay for art. I had it filtered after that, but then I did the back. And for that book, it's kind of a retro-ish feeling horror novel or novella. So for me doing the font on the back, it kind of fit the book itself, and it worked for that, and I liked it. And it looks like an older kind of, that zebra kind of horror imagery, and the back as well. I think I got a picture of my dog barking on it or something like that. So Roland's got it right there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it actually.
So that's like
dude, that book almost fucked me up. I'm gonna tell you something that I had to edit my video the other day, because when I was reading that on my YouTube thing, the first chapter of Freak Show, I had never really looked at the back of the book, and I went to go read the blurb, and I said, I was like, and there's this weird image of Daniel wearing like a mask or something, and I'm like, it took me a second to realize it was actually your dog there. I thought the white was like your shirt or something like that, and you had a mask on. And it just took me a second to realize I was looking at a dog, but I was recording myself saying, like, and here's Daniel wearing like a mask.
No, I'm not Aaron. I want this beauty out there. So.
And then I went and edited it out later. I was like, it's a fucking dog, you dummy. Like,
it's honestly though, it's easy to get one bitch confused with another, you know.
True.
True. Word.
All right,
Aaron.
I couldn't put this.
Got him.
Got him.
I use depositphotos.com, and I don't know if I'm just grandfathered in, but I literally pay like $10 a month, and I get 10. I think it's 10 credits or something like that. And you can use those photos to work on your book and stuff. You just have to be careful because if a lot of people will use those photos and go make T-shirts and shit like that, and you really can't. I mean, that's literally just for like for your book cover up to a certain amount. It's like fucking 500,000 copies or something like that. And then you're supposed to pay for the extended. I think the extended one was like $85 for one photo.
Shit,
so
that'd be a good problem to have, huh? 500.
You're gonna make like keychains and shit like that.
Oh,
By the
swag.
way, I don't know, but you're
No,
supposed
we know
to.
you don't know about swag, but
Yeah, exactly. now you know I don't do swag.
what about using Carver Pike condoms? Could you put an image on there?
Good. Yeah.
It'd be really compressed, but whatever.
Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to think. So that was so I used depositphotos.com, but before that I was using Can Stock Photo, CAN stockphoto.com was what I was using before that, and that had something similar. That one was a little more expensive, I think, but they all have plans and shit like that where you can do monthly things and stuff. But I think Can Stock Photos would try to sell you big batches of them, so it'd be like 200 photos, but it was like pretty expensive and stuff. So and there's a ton of them out there. If you just type stock photos and stuff, there's a bunch of them out there. There's Shutterstock and stuff like that. But I use Deposit Photos. So, and that's what I like about it is also you can do your teasers and shit. You know, I do my own teasers and things like that. I haven't really messed around with them in a while. But even when I make like my trailer videos and things like that, a lot of times I'll use those kind of photos and stuff. So even if you don't use it for your book covers, it could still be useful, you know what I mean? For promotional material and commercials and shit you're working on.
Good to know.
Hey, Carver, I got a question for you. So the title for Scalp is a different type of font than your name. Like, where did you get the font for the title?
Damn, I wish I knew you were going to be asking me all these questions.
That's what I say. We'll talk about something else while you look.
I'm not great with Photoshop, so for the most part, I use PicMonkey to do a lot of my and that's like I think I pay like $5 a month. But PicMonkey is how I alter my photos and shit like that. And there's a lot of fonts included in it, and you can also buy fonts from other sites and like upload them into that site, which I like. And I can't. There are like 3 different sites I've used for fonts. I can't think of it.
The font is one of the better ones.
Yeah.
What is it?
DaFont, it's DA font.
Yeah, but you got to be careful with DaFont because DaFont has a lot of ones that are on there that aren't really copyrighted and stuff like that, I think. So you got to be careful. You got to really read whether it's for commercial use and all that shit. Where these other ones, you can buy the use of them, and I can't. Creative Market, I think, is one of the ones that I use.
And honestly, for the listeners, like this is another route you can take if you like putting in the legwork and you enjoy doing the cover art like Carver does and getting everything situated. But for other people, if you want to take an easier route, you hire a cover artist and they will usually have fonts that you can work with. When I had a Gift of Death and I had that cover done, it was sent to me by the publisher, and she asked me, she's like, what do you think about the font? And I was like, the initial font I didn't like. I didn't think it fit the theme. And I kind of said I want to fit kind of this theme. And I had other fonts to pick from almost immediately. So for somebody that's, starting out and you don't have the time that Carver has or anybody else to sort through fonts and add filters and find all these stock images, it's not. I wish I had that problem. Your cover artist, if you decide to hire one, can do that stuff for you.
Well, one thing I want to say about cover artists and stuff, be careful. You guys hire like good artists that are actually doing illustrations and shit like that. Be careful when you're hiring somebody that does covers for you that are using stock photos, because what a lot of them will do is they'll do what I'm doing. Basically, they'll go find stock photos and they'll create a cover for you and sell it to you. I'm running the risk when I create my own covers like this. I'm not buying exclusive rights to the photos because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can pay models and shit and get and photographers and pay, $700, $800, $1,000 sometimes to get an exclusive photo. So, what I'm doing is just buying the stock photo, making my own cover out of it. But I run the risk of, and I have seen other books out there with the photos that I've used. You know what I mean? Like just with different color or altered a little bit and stuff. I run that risk, and it's a risk that I'm willing to take sometimes, depending on the cover and stuff. But what you got to watch out for, especially when you're paying somebody to create your covers, that they're not just doing what I'm doing, because then you're paying somebody, maybe maybe it's as low as $100, $200, whatever, $50 I've seen, $75 for these covers that are online and stuff. But then you're still running that risk, because if they're not buying the exclusive photo, you might publish your book and be all excited about it, and then find out somebody else published it with the same exact picture, just a different title. And that's and it's their right. They just didn't buy the exclusive, rights to that photo. So you can't go after somebody that has the same photo as you if you didn't buy exclusive rights to it.
Don't be afraid to ask your cover artist too to do a custom font for you, like in Try the New Candy. I said,
about that.
Go ahead and give me your custom font. I want you to draw the font, and then it's a unique, one of a kind thing.
And even with the photos, what I was saying before, just you can even ask them, and a lot of them will say on their site, once you buy the picture from us, it won't be sold to somebody else or something like that. But that it still doesn't necessarily mean that photo won't be used somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you need to make sure you're getting exclusive rights to that if you're going to pay that much money for it. So.
And the thing is, this goes back to even submissions. Like when I was submitting stuff to, we talked about like free anthologies and things that pay you in like an ebook copy when you're just trying to get your name out there. I was in a couple of these anthologies, and they had these stock image photos as their covers, and I'm like, oh, it's a pretty cool cover. And then down the road I see it on another book, and I'm like, oh, that's not the book title. And then I see it on another book, and I'm like, well, that's not the book title. And you're like, holy shit, like this is just a bullshit image that somebody found, and now they're just pretty much copying, pasting it, and using it on a bunch of different collections. So it is definitely something, like you said, Carver, people could take it and either manipulate it slightly. This is where it comes into, am I going to pay to have a custom piece illustrated and drawn? Or, like Carver said, do I run the risk of having this image used for something else? I haven't really seen any of your stuff anywhere else.
Well, I can tell you, there's one author that's, I don't know if she's well known, or like I've seen her name a few times and stuff, but I definitely have seen this cover mentioned several times as being one of the best covers people have ever seen. And I had the exact same picture zoomed in the exact same way, thinking that I was coming up with something unique. And had my cover done, it was ready, it was in my file and folder. I actually stopped writing that book because I have a kind of an issue where I like to have the cover ready before I really start writing. So once this happened, it kind of put me, like I kind of paused writing that book. But I saw this cover and I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, I just created that exact cover with that exact picture. And first time I saw it was somebody saying, this is one of the best covers I've ever seen. I was like, so I can't, I mean, I could still do it, but now it would just look like I was copying that author. And so I would never say the author's name. It's not, you know what I mean? That's not cool either. But I mean, but that's the risk we run. And obviously she paid for a stock photo and did a really good job with it. So, I mean, but that's.
I had a similar thing with a screenplay that I wrote with a friend. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, we conjured this whole fucking idea ourselves, and it was about like this priest that gets this young girl pregnant and tries to have like a back alley abortion, like, and then we found out that there was like this movie in Mexico that was damn near the same fucking storyline, and it's like, fuck, man, it just took the wind out of our sails, and it was just like, yeah. All right, but then we reinvented ourselves and went a completely different direction and made this other thing that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's tough. That's why I would say it's cool to get your stuff commissioned, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. But it's cool because you have the option to merchandise it if you get that commercial use, and you know you could have other avenues to make revenue off of that and potentially gain back, especially if you get a book that somehow takes off, you know?
Yeah.
So
I will say that getting your stuff commissioned, sometimes it can get expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. No. You were already talking. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Stop being rude.
Damn, he clapped back.
More Roland. We need more Roland.
Yes, more Roland.
I have the pre-Thanksgiving stress disorder coming out. when I tell you I am on the 5th revision for the cover because I've had it done over and over, and it's just not what I like. And me, I'm not the one.
You showed some really cool covers on that. I remember you showing us some cool covers with that. Remember? You didn't like any of those?
I do, but I don't know. I'm just conflicted about it, and I appreciate your input because that kind of helps. But I'm not the type of person who, like, if I hire somebody and it comes out good and I like it, I'm not the one that can go back to them and be like, can you change this? Can you change that? Yeah, I should be able to do that because I'm paying my damn money, but I just can't do it. So this is the 5th time I'm redoing the cover. And I'll probably wind up using the first one I did.
But that kind of leads me to a question that I'm interested in, and I don't know if this is going to come up later, so stop me if it is. But on the romance side of things, I know fairly well. He's a really well-known author over there, and we were talking one time about I was thinking of changing my covers for my books at that time, and he was saying he does it. I think he said like every year he redoes his covers, like because you got to keep them fresh, and you can't. And it got me thinking, like, look at like Stephen King and stuff. I mean, his books constantly change covers. I mean, whole series, you know what I mean, will change to have covers that are new and fresh and stuff. What do you guys think about that?
Same thing with movies, Carver, too, right? Like you see these repackaging of like, and they'll come out with all these sort of similar, right? And they're all kind of the same but different for each story. Yeah. I think it's cool if you had the money to do it, but to me, it's like if we're self-publishing. The only reason I redid my cover was because I knew it didn't reach its potential. Now I believe all my covers are at their potential. So I don't know. I redid my Diablo Snuff ones because they weren't really, because it's a series. I like it all to look very like a series. You know what I mean? Like the fonts and everything to match. And mine were kind of all over the place. They weren't really what I wanted, and so I kind of redid them and stuff. So that was the reason behind that. That four and evil one's awesome.
I love that one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's cool. That was a good book too. I read that. I got that from you.
Okay.
The one thing I will say about the redoing covers is, like, for Stephen King and some of these bigger guys, they're usually switching publishers as well. So that's why they're usually switching their covers. It's if they're going from one publishing company to another, they don't want to rehash another company's art, or they might not be able to legally. So that's usually, I think, why they switch. For us as indie authors, I think if we sat there and switched every single year or every couple years, people might see that as like more of a, I'm not going to say a money grab, but like a opportunistic thing where you're like, hey, I'm going to release different editions of this, and hey, buy it with this cover. Yeah. You know, Billy Silver is the only one I changed the cover on. I have no intentions of changing the covers on any of my other work. Even so much so with Awakened in Blood, with my sequels, even though I kind of had somewhat of an issue with the artist that did it, I'm going to continue to use that same artist because I want the books to look the same, and I want the art to be the same. So
now, what I will say though, Carver, and just a caveat, not to cut you off, but like when I have the Slob and Son of the Slob, right? There may be one more story in that. There may not. I'm not sure yet. But eventually I will release probably a definitive edition that will have a completely different cover that sort of encapsulates the entire story. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that I'm not opposed to, because I think that'd be a cool thing to have somebody to be able to get it all in one shot and have one piece of new artwork. That's the only thing I've considered so far, really like that. But
yeah, and that's kind of like when you look at, omnibuses, when you have these bigger sci-fi series or fantasy series where they will combine a trilogy into an omnibus where they'll have a new cover art for that book itself. And Aaron, it's funny you say that because I thought the same thing, where if I do a trilogy in any of my books, which I have a couple planned, I was thinking about getting a new cover drawn for the series in itself, and just having that one new piece of cover art that encompasses everything, having like a fucking 600-page, 700-page book to put out there that just has the whole series in it.
I can see myself doing that with Diablo Snuff because I mean this will be technically the fifth book.
It's the fifth book, right?
Yeah. So with the side stories and stuff, and a few people have actually asked me about it. Like, am I going to do that? Because on the romance side, I did that with a few of my trilogies. Like, I just combined them, especially for book signings, just so they could buy one big book, signed and so yeah, that's something I may do too.
Yeah, that makes total sense with your series, I think.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, and for you, Aaron, because your book covers are very similar and obviously done by the same, artist, but having that, having a book cover that encompasses both of your books would be amazing. And I think, and we go back to the retail market where we're talking about selling prints and selling this artwork and using it to promote our books and to promote the artist, having that third piece of art to get out to the readers would be great for them. I think people would eat it up.
Yeah.
And I think just on a personal level, it would make me happy too. You know what I mean? Like Roland said, I feel like we're very similar in that that's the most exciting process for all of it almost is like looking at that cover on that finished product,
But Aaron, would your say if you did the Slav and Son of the Slav in the third, if you decided to do it, you wouldn't feel funny about changing the covers because those are amazing covers. So couldn't you also do something like a box set and do a cover for the box?
You could do that.
As opposed to changing each individual book?
You could, but I was also thinking about potentially writing an essay about it. In adding something to it that's not there with the other three, because that particular those stories are very emotional for me and tie into some of my real life shit, and it's if I was ever going to write an essay about anything, it would probably be that, and I would like to give people something extra to understand it. But to your point, a box set is a cool idea too.
Yeah, that's great.
That
would be amazing.
Yeah, but I think if I did it, the way I might do it, I wouldn't do it on Amazon. I would probably press it through with my own money. Yeah. I would put color pages in it, a few colored pages, only two, or if there's 3 books in there, I'll put a color page for the cover of each one, so you still get the cover of each one inside. Okay, and you'll have that new cover outside.
Gotcha.
That would be probably how I would approach it. But I'm sorry, Carver. I know you would
still sell. You would still sell your individual books too, right? Of people.
Yes.
The people who bought 1 and 2 and just need or whatever. You know what I mean? And because Roland was talking about you those being such great covers and not wanting them to go to waste and stuff. So that's what I'm saying. You still have those available though, right? I mean,
yeah,
individually too.
This would be. That's a great question. And this would, if I were to do this, it would be those would be remaining on Amazon. The book that I'm pressing would not be anywhere. You'd have to buy it directly from me. I'd probably make 500 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it would just be a special thing, and there would be something extra in it for people. You know what I mean? So that's probably how I do it.
Yeah, that's like a collector's edition kind of thing, and for the dedicated readers that are willing to spend a premium price on a premium product and to sit there and go above and beyond and say, you know what, I am going to spend $50 on this book because this is a compendium of these 3 books or these 2 books that, encompasses this whole story. Yeah. So I think it would definitely be worth it. And, obviously, as a self-published author, you're going to have to come out of pocket for it, but it would definitely be worth it in the end.
The way I look at it, you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your future. You're investing
100%.
in your legacy. You
Yes.
know, and it's one thing, and you do that however you want to. You know what I mean? Like Carver, for example, you enjoy that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We enjoy clicking the open button and seeing everything that we told them and hoping it's how we fucking expect it to be.
Hope.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said for actually creating it yourself too. You credit yourself with fucking making the cover, which is pretty cool. Yeah. And I think one other thing though that we haven't talked about is oil painters, and this is incredibly expensive. But there are other ways around it. So I think I've told you guys I work with Zach Dunn, the horror oil painter. I purchased a painting off of him, The Red Widow, which was a pricey painting, $1,600 painting. But I was working full time at the time, making good money. It didn't really matter.
I need air. I'll work money.
So
no, that's no kid money. That's what that is.
Yeah,
that's no fucking life money though. Like when you're I had a real tough last 3 years in that role that I was in. It was like you have no life. You make great money, but you just have no life. You know what I mean?
Were you a gigolo?
That's when you hire Roland as your babysitter.
Yeah.
I'll take care of that.
But basically, I said I saw this painting, and I said, that's it. That's like the vision that I have for this book that I wanted to do, Nightmare Nirvana. And he had named the painting The Red Widow, and so I was like, oh man, it'd be cool. I'll even make a story based around this painting. You know what I mean? Like, use that concept and build it into one of the stories. But I think on another note, you don't necessarily have to buy the painting like I did. I think you can approach an oil painter artist and say, hey, listen, like I can I use this, just buy the rights outright. You know what I mean? Yeah. But with this, when you purchase it from them, you get more benefits, obviously. And I wanted to have it because I said it's a one of a kind. It's going to be the cover of my book. I want it hanging on my wall. When I'm dead, they can take it down and give it to somebody else, I guess. But I love oil painting. I think it's a fucking very unique thing. It gives a different look to the book. You know what I mean? It's I think it's cool, so I recommend it. But I just don't know how pricey it might get for others.
So I went a step, I guess, cheaper than that, and I found an artist that just through Facebook, just looking at some of her posts, Katie Moore through, I think it's Ethereal Darkness is her page, and she does pencil and charcoal. And I messaged her one day, and she told me she sees faces in everything. So a lot of her art has like these really like vague faces, like these really like dim faces. And I was like, I like her art. So I messaged her, and I'm like, I'd really like to buy one of your pictures. I'd like you to draw me something custom. When I had intended on publishing a Gift of Death, self-publishing it, I had purchased a piece from her, and I wanted to use it as the cover art. And obviously, as you guys know, I was able to sign a contract with D&T Publishing to get that published. But, reach out to your local artists, the people you see on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Like, these people are artists like ourselves, and they need the work. And they can always use the exposure. So like Aaron said, reach out to them, talk to them, say, hey, I really like your stuff. Would you like to collaborate on something? Would you like to sell me something? Would you be interested in taking a commission to draw me a custom piece? These people they're really talented, and they can really get you something that's custom, that is one of a kind.
Yeah.
I'll tell you whose stuff I love is Justin T. Coons on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
The guy
he's
Spider
great.
Westerns. His fucking work is just phenomenal, man. Yeah. Like, every one of his covers I think I would hang on the wall just to, if I could, just get prints. I know sometimes he sells prints and stuff of them, but I'm curious how much he charges outside of the splatter Western world and stuff. Because he also did Razor Blades in My Head by, God, what's his name? I'm going to have to look it up because it's going to piss me off now.
Yeah, he's super talented. He's a really nice guy, too. Like, I've had conversations with him on Facebook. He's just an awesome guy, awesome artist. Death's Head's definitely found something special with his art for their books.
Donnie Goodman. He just did Donnie Goodman's book, that Razor Blades in My Head. And that was like that, too. I mean, I would hang that on my wall. It's just a piece of work, man. It's a piece of art. It's awesome.
What were you going to say, Roland?
So that's what I was going to get around to asking, like, where do y'all find the artists? Daniel, you mentioned you find yours on, off of Facebook. Does anybody else have different? Me, of course, I go to Fiverr. I haven't been disappointed with them. I mean, aside from the 5 that I did for the Thanksgiving Day story. So is there other options for finding artists for people who are looking?
I'll talk about an organic way that I found an artist, and I'll talk about another way.
Mm-hmm.
So, Roland, like you, I've used Fiverr, and like some of you know, Aaron, I know has used Fiverr as well. I have found an artist on Fiverr, and he does great work, and I will definitely use him in the future. But the artist I used for Billy Silver and Talia was actually his name's Michael Squid, and you can look him up on Facebook, and he had a podcast out, and I really liked it, and it was like a scary story, like creepypasta kind of podcast, and I liked it, and I messaged him, and I was like, hey man, it's a good show, I really enjoy it, and we got talking, and I found out he was an artist. So at the time I wasn't really writing anything, I was just more a reader. So fast forward later on, he came out with a book, and we had kind of stayed in contact a little bit here and there, and he came out with a book. I think it's called Darkest Dimensions. It's a short story collection, and he was looking for beta readers, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'll read it for you. And we got talking, and I found out, I looked at more of his artwork, and I read it for him. And when I needed the artwork for Billy Silver and Talia done, I was like, hey, I really like your work. Would you be interested in taking a commission for this? And he was more than happy. He worked quickly. He actually did Todd Love. I know you guys have seen Todd Love. He did Platinum Blondes, and I think he has a collection that's out right now. Mike Squid, I think, did hit. Yes, I think Mike Squid did both. I know he definitely did Platinum Blondes. That I can say for sure. And I'm not sure if he did, was it Tortured Souls? Is that what it is, Carver?
Yeah, Tortured Tales.
Tortured Tales. I think he did that one, but I'm not 100% sure. So that was an organic kind of collaboration and meeting that him and I had. What about you, Aaron?
I think, were you going to say something first, Carver?
I was just going to say another place that we haven't mentioned that I've almost reached out to artists on it before, but I don't know why, I just kind of like shied away. But DeviantArt.com is another popular place. Like artists my brother used to be on DeviantArt, and there you kind of really have to reach out to people and see if they'll do your book cover and stuff, because it's really just artists sharing their work and stuff. Like my brother was on there, he created this. I don't know if you can see it in the picture.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, look how cool.
My brother does some badass art. He's actually he created the motorcycle club emblem. Let me see if I can grab one of my books. I'm just proud of him because he's badass. But let me see if I have. I don't know if you can see the emblem up in the corner of this. My razor blade.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I like
so
it.
he created that for me for all my MC books, and but with him, he does a lot of work. He does a lot of different kinds of artwork and stuff like that. So he worked on some stuff for me in the past, but he was putting his stuff up for a while on DeviantArt. So I know that's another good place to go and get some one-of-a-kind pieces and stuff like that. You just have to reach out to people on there because it's kind of like social media for artists, really.
Does your brother take like commissions? Because that first, I mean, both of the pictures are great, but the first little thing you showed was so cute. I mean, that's an excellent.
Well,
picture.
this was from because I know at one point he was writing a story, and I think he said this was one of the characters. He was writing like a fantasy story, and I think he said that was one of the characters from the story he was working on. But
I want one.
But yeah, he gave it to me. I went to visit him, and he had these. It's actually on like a metal.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool. I'm gonna hang it up once we figure out what we're gonna do with the office and stuff here. But
Yeah, and you mentioned DeviantArt, Carver. I've been on there a few times. I think it's really cool. There's some real like holy shit epic art pieces on there for sure.
Yeah.
I think Daniel mentioned Instagram. Go ahead and search some hashtags. Search horror art. You know what I mean? Be respectful though. Go ahead and read people's profiles. Some people don't want commission messages. Okay, so go ahead and take a look at their profile. It'll tell you no commissions if they don't want messages from random people. You want to have a good projection, right? And then oil painters, you can't go wrong with that. I think you were asking a little bit about pricing, Carver. You can get the painting that I have is a pretty large painting. That's why it was so expensive. It's big, okay? But if you were just doing a book cover, you could probably get an oil painter to paint you a custom oil painting for around $500 maybe. Okay, and then you would get your custom oil painting, and then you can work it out in advance and say, you give me the rights to commercial use on this, and then you're good to go. So.
This is going to sound like a stupid question, but then how do you go about turning that into a book cover? Or you just take a picture of it? Like, how do you get oil painting into an actual book cover, You
got to take a high-quality photo. Usually in natural light is the best way to do it. That's how most of them do their prints, from what I understand. It's got to be a very high-quality photo, which I'm still tinkering with. Like you saw, I don't know if you saw the preview for Nightmare Nirvana. It looks pretty good. I think I could probably get a better picture of it overall. That was kind of my test prototype. I could live with that, but I think I can get it a little bit clearer. Either way, just how that paint looks, spread about. There's just something about it that's fucking awesome. And then of course, we said Instagram, DeviantArt, search the hashtags on Instagram, look around on Facebook, search the hashtags, Fiverr, right? You could look at people's portfolios there, but again, be careful, okay? Be careful on Fiverr. I see people putting up pictures of artwork that I know for a fucking fact they didn't do. I know the artists that made the pictures that they put up because I'm a fan of horror art.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen people with fucking famous ass, like you wouldn't know they were famous probably because they're not like a household name, but these are like infamous fucking horror paintings. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, you're so full of shit. Another red flag too is if you send them a fucking message. Like there was this girl that I wanted her to do this cover for All Smiles. I was gonna reach out to someone else to do it, but I'm glad I didn't because the cover came out fucking phenomenal with my guy. But a red flag would be, okay, she does movie posters, right? And I said, all right, I need something smaller than a movie poster. I'm just going to do a book cover, okay? And then she ups the price from her asking price for the book cover. Like, and by a lot. I think it was like an extra $100. I'm like, could you explain to me how it costs more for something smaller? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, that's just an estimate in the profile. And then I'm just like, well, that makes no sense, number one, because you don't have that written there. And I was like, you need to put that in with the offer. And I was like, I told her, I was like, I was truly looking forward to doing business with you. Like, I love your artwork, but this just totally broke the trust. And now I just can't fuck with you,
Yeah.
But so watch out, too. Watch out. Make sure you're looking at those images. Look at the ratings. They're on Fiverr. They do ratings of work that was done on the site. Okay, there's two different ratings. There's ratings for work done on the site, and then there's just portfolio pictures, right?
Yeah.
Which that could be fucking anything. I don't know why Fiverr doesn't crack down on that shit more because there's shenanigans going on. I'm getting fired up.
What's up? Every time you say I can't fuck with you, I feel like we should play Bodak Yellow in the background and shit. Bitch, you can't fuck with me if you want.
But I think that's a good buffet of places for people to get started. Just a cover note for Amazon, right? No nudity on covers, right? That's one thing.
Yeah.
You want to be careful
that
of?
actually got me, man. I had the best picture for the maddening coming up, and I used kind of a variation of it. But the one that I really wanted was perfect, man. The right coloring, it was just exactly how I wanted it. And then I showed Jules. I was like, "What do you think?" And she's like, "Well, Amazon's not gonna like all the nipples." Because I had it's got naked. They look like mannequins, kind of all intertwined and shit like that. It's a really cool picture. But the one that I really wanted to use shows more of the actual breast, where the other one somehow just the way it's shown, the direction and stuff like that, covered up most of the breast. So I don't think it'll be a problem. But
you know what's weird though, Carver?
Really, I wanted.
Have you guys seen Carlton? Is it Carlton Merritt the third? Right?
Yeah.
I feel like he has nudity on some of his covers though, and he'll get like it'll be okay though. So I don't know if it's just
even
like
his
random.
titles, man, I'm like, it's like last time I saw you at Dairy Queen, my whole fucking face exploded or
Love
something
it.
like that.
So
I
genius,
saw
dude.
I was looking at that the other day, and I was like, how's he get away with that?
But
Where did everybody go?
I guess it's just you and me, Carver.
Yeah.
But I guess, all right, so wrapping it up, right? There's one other thing that you and I could talk about. Oh, Roland's back. So one last thing. I don't know that we're going to have time for questions, but I think we should hit this last bullet point. And it's that Kindle cover versus paperback cover. You know, and that they're different, right? And so, like, your Kindle cover specs are probably going to, they are going to be different most likely than the paperback because, you know, it's, and I've had to resize certain stuff manually myself. Have you had to do that, Roland?
Yes, I have, and it's
I think we conversed about it.
Yeah. I always have such difficulty with it, so I wound up having to, because I'm not very good at, I guess changing the font or the what's the word I'm looking for? You said the specs.
The pixels maybe, or the.
Yeah. There you go. I'm not great at doing that, so I have to have somebody else help me to do it.
Yeah, it's tricky. You got to kind of figure it out, but you may have to do that. There's programs like I think I use a program called Art Text on Mac, and if you go into the document, you can fucking go to the document size and then adjust pixel. Like you could change it either pixels, inches, whatever you want, and then you just look up the Amazon cover specs. Yeah. But in theory, though, you're fucking artist. If you guys are hiring an artist, they should be doing all this shit for you. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. The few that I did actually were the ones who helped me change it.
I think that I told you I use PicMonkey for my ebook covers and stuff, and I'm pretty sure in there that's how I usually change the pixels and shit. So I think there's just a change size option, and you just go in there and put in. But you still have to go look up what those pixels need to be, or how, or what. But you got to do the fucking math and stuff and find out what inches mean in pixels and all that, whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. I'm getting tired. I don't know.
Yeah, we're on the fritz here, guys. We're running hard. But
we're talking about Carlton and his nudity on his books. Like that, I'm surprised that gets away. Like, come on, there's no nipples, but it's
pretty awesome.
Yeah, love it. This is a great book, actually.
I haven't read any of his work, but I've wanted to buy every one of his books, pretty much.
Yeah, just by the
covers. Fucking awesome covers.
Well, there you go back to the covers.
His covers and his titles are just on point. So I want to read. Like he has Ape Shit was one that I have on my TBR list.
Yeah,
Ape Shit.
Yeah.
He has a lot of cool shit though. So
actually, I misjudged. So I think. Are you guys good on the cover conversation? We're going to probably revisit it down the road, but I think we actually gave a buttload of content. What do you think?
Yeah. I think we're good.
All right, let's do this though, Carver. Just do you think we could squeeze in one question? Are you guys cool with that?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do one.
Yeah.
I just like to do one.
Daniel's the one that's about to pass out.
I'm good.
Yeah, where did you go, Princess? I was wondering.
I don't know. My computer keeps I keep losing shit, and then I have to reboot it, and it pops back up. I don't know.
You're all bragging about, I got the new computer.
I
updated my word.
I feel like I'm running West Virginia internet here.
Oh, come on, Mr. Carver.
Come on, show some love to my West Virginia internet. This question's from Andy Carroll. He says, apart from trial, error, and learning, is there any advice pertaining to the whole submission and covers? Or did most of you just research or use the KDP University? Any other sources that could be helpful? I'm just laughing because we just went over all the cover shit.
Last question.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Well, we covered some submission stuff in the last episode, right?
Yeah, we did.
And then...
What was he asking about submissions, though, Carver?
I might read it again. So, apart from trial, error, and learning, is there any advice pertaining to the whole submission and covers? Or did most of you just research or use the KDP University? Any other sources that could be helpful?
Most of it for me was just like research and then like
Trial and error.
but also just figuring out and connecting with the right people. You know, you don't necessarily have to have all the answers, right? I work with a team, and everybody that I work with, I overcompensate because I want them to know that I value them. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's one thing that I do, and as long as I can do it, I will do it because I think networking is critical. I like to have a nice streamline. So in Andy's question, like for me, it's not so much like I just fucking upload the covers, you know what I mean? And it's like the specs should all be on point and you should be good to go. But if not, you have that resource that you can reach out to and say, hey, you know, it didn't go quite right. And, you know, they fucking respect you because you take care of them. They're like, all right, we can get this fixed for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
Shahara Monaco is the one who did the cover for Unbortion. And with her, like I remember I was saying, I was having issues with the specs or trying to get it right. I reached out to her after she did my cover, and she helped me figure it out. And because of that relationship we have together, so you know, I was just gonna add that to it.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I was actually the same way with Mike Squid. When I did the audiobook for Billy Silver, I've reached out to him because ACX has a very particular format they want their audiobook covers in, and I hadn't talked to him in probably a couple months, and I messaged him, and within the day he had it done. I'm like, hey, can you take a look at this and maybe reduce this to this size? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah. So you know, having a good cover artist and submitting that stuff is crucial. And like Aaron said, if you pay them, not even so much overcompensating, which yes, that is great because it definitely shows them that you value their work, but pay them promptly. You know, if they say, hey, it's going to cost you this much, and you pay them immediately, it lets them see that you're dedicated to them, you're dedicated to yourself, and you're dedicated to the work. So pay your people, you know, tip your fucking bartender, get it all done. You know, don't linger and say, oh, I'd love to pay you when I get paid on Monday. You know, no, I'm here, I'm ready to pay you, and this is it.
If you're asking for it, you need to have that money right away. And I'll say this, I don't overcompensate. You know, I'm not saying if someone does a shit job, tip them. Please don't misconstrue that. Like, I'm just saying if I find somebody that I value and I know that we're going to be working together for years, or at least I hope we are, then I'm going to fucking compensate you extra and let you know that I appreciate you. You know?
I agree.
And I think this is what's important for you guys. Work with a lot of cover artists and stuff like that. For somebody kind of going at it alone like I do, it's a lot of fucking work, man. I mean, it is trial and error. I have to Google a lot of shit. I have to YouTube a lot of shit. Yeah. And there's still so much to learn. I told you, I suck at Photoshop, so I have to use other sites. But there are a lot of sites out there, and if you are in a financial situation where you kind of need to do it on your own, the stuff's out there, but you're gonna have to put in the work. I wish I could tell you where to find it, but it really is just a matter of every time I go to work on a cover or something, I need to fix something. At that point, I need to Google it and kind of relearn it all over again. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's not something that sticks with me because I don't do cover art as a profession, you know, so.
Yeah, I will say that there is one free site that I used, and I, like Carver, I'm not good with Photoshop, but there's a site that's actually fairly user-friendly, and it's free. It's called GIMP. It's like the GIMP from fucking Pulp Fiction, and it's a pretty decent site for photo editing if you can learn it, and it's free. So if you have the time and the know-how to work that site, definitely check that one out for sure.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Thanks, Andy, for the question. As always, we appreciate it. And I think it's time to wrap up with our reader recognition, which this week we got a great individual in the horror community. I consider him a friend. He supports. This man has purchased books from me. He is in the UK. And he'll just send me extra money and be like, listen, I know what you're fucking trying to do, and I appreciate what you're doing, and I'll try to fucking send him an extra book and then, you know, get one over on him, and then he'll just send me more money. Like that's how cool. He's just a supporter of independent horror, and it's Salim Osman, and he's on Instagram. I believe he's on Facebook too, and I see him on
Facebook where I'm at and stuff.
Yeah, and he's always commenting on the written and read. Probably if you're watching this video, he's probably commented on it already. He's a big, strong man, dude. He does like weightlifting and stuff. He's always sending me like videos of fucking monstrous, veined out freaks pumping iron. And I'm just like, holy shit, Salim. But what's your experience with him, guys?
He's a fucking rock star in my book. That guy, super friendly. He always shares everything I post for the most part. If he thinks it's going to help me, he will share it. And he actually private messaged me the one day, and he's like, "Oh, you don't have to keep thanking me for sharing, your post." And I told him, I was like, "Listen, I truly appreciate what you do. You don't have to share it, and you do every single time." I said, "So I'm going to continue to thank you every time you share something of mine." And I appreciate him. He's just a cool dude. I think even today he shared some of my stuff. So I appreciate it. And what's it, Salim? I don't want to mess his name up.
I think it's Salim. Yeah,
Salim.
And if we're fucking it up,
Yeah.
or it might be Salim. But if we're fucking it up,
He is
he knows.
really cool, and he's.
Yeah.
I haven't known him probably as long as you guys have. I want to say, and I hope I'm not wrong on this, but I want to say it's just been a few months really. But he's been so active on everything that I do. He's always commenting on the posts, and like you said, he shares everything, man. He's like, and I try to go in and same thing. I thank him all the time for sharing. I try to. I know I miss a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
I notice that he shares a lot of stuff and he comes and comments. I think he's inside the group, my Carver's Block group, and he's comments on stuff in there. He really is a rock star. Really cool guy.
Yeah, like I'll post the shit of like a package, and he'll be like, "You gotta get it while it's on fire," or so, I'm just like, always like, "You better get this shit." Like, it's just...
on Instagram, it's the same way. Every time he just comments with a fucking picture of flames, just fire every time. So, Salim, you're the fucking man, dude. We really appreciate what you do for us.
And Roland, have you had some interactions?
Yeah. He messaged me on Facebook Messenger, and he told me to thank my sister, since remember I said she was the one who kind of prompted me or pushed me to write on abortion. Mm-hmm. So he's like, "Thank your sister. I bought your book because of the podcast." And ever since he messaged me that one time, like he always, I've messaged him back a few times, but he does post a lot. And again, I've had really good interactions with him. So I thank him for just being such an amazing supporter and such a nice person, actually.
Yeah. Oh, man. Honestly, this is my favorite part of the show, aside from when the internet drops Daniel out of it, is recognizing the reader. This is just magical.
Yeah. This fucking internet tonight.
Right?
What are you going to do?
Great episode, though, guys. I think we got a lot of good stuff. And I think we're fucking rolling up on... I think we're rolling up on release for next episode. Start talking about releasing that book. How are you going to sell your book, Take
off clothes.
Oh, shit.
Do a little thing.
Dicks out for fiction.
We'll talk about that next time, though.
Yeah. On Uncle Roland's babysitting fucking.
So, I think the next episode is going to kind of be dedicated to what's the... not so much actually releasing the book. That's going to follow up after. But what's your approach and strategy going to be prior to releasing it? You know what I mean? Like sort of the prep, how you get in there, all that stuff. So it's going to be... It's a joyous episode for those that are getting ready to release a book. It's an exciting feeling. So I'm very excited to talk about it. And this has been great, guys, as always.
Yeah.
Awesome. So had a good... Do we want to just do our outros, I guess? Or is it anybody... Yeah,
no, I'm good. Yeah,
let's fucking wrap this thing up. All right, Aaron Beauregard, Splatterpunk author, author of Slob. Check me out. You could fucking message me. I can sell you stuff. I'm on Amazon.
Fans only page.
We can talk.
At home with Santa.
Yeah.
Only fans.
But yeah, that's it. You guys know the deal. Daniel?
Daniel J. Volpe. I'm on Facebook, Daniel Volpe. Everywhere else is DJ Volpe Horror. And yeah, if you private message me on any of those platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, I'll probably respond. So yeah, thank you. Carver.
Everywhere is Carver Pike, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the sites, YouTube. So you can find my stuff there and at carverpike.com. The fuck are you laughing at?
You said Pornhub.
That shit-eating grin over there. Oh, man. Roland
Bercy, you can find me on Amazon, Facebook, RolandBercyJr.com. Sorry, I can't talk right now. But yeah, send me a message. I love interacting with you guys. I have met so many great people, and I just thank everybody for all the love and support. I just can't say thank you enough. So message me.
All right, guys. So remember, bottom line is judge a horror book by its cover. And until next time, keep it 100% horror.